I couldn't make the echoes bounce around this room, chasing shadows in the gloom.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Behind Enemy Lines Hockey Podcast. We're right in the middle of our second round playoff series against the Buffalo Sabres. In case we're off the planet somewhere, Montreal won another lopsided tilt 6-2 last night in Buffalo. And I, as always, want to welcome Steve.
Well, ole, 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 ole. I mean, it's a good time to be talking Habs hockey. And you're right. Fresh off the Mother's Day massacre, 6-2 win. We are live, and we're here to talk exciting Habs hockey because it's been a hot minute since we've been able to do this, and the freight train keeps it rolling.
Yeah. You're going to start us off with a topic related trivia question.
Yeah. So we're in the middle of a playoff drive. And, we're being fueled by a rookie goaltender. So we will keep it rookie goaltender related. Which Montreal goaltender holds a record for rookie wins in one season?
Okay, I got this one. I didn't get the number of wins, but I got the goalie. I guess for game breakdown and preview, it's going to be all Buffalo for the next little bit. As we know, Montreal is up 2-1. I'm going to start this off a little bit just by explaining the game one to me was a Tampa Bay hangover. They were on such a rush, such a high, winning game 7, such a tight series. I mean, it was decided by one goal, could have went either way, and either team would have been rightfully deserving of the win. And I think that's what happened with us in game 1. I think we were a little bit of a hangover. Montreal got their act together, had a glass of water and a couple Tylenol, and now you're seeing a truer representation of what the team really is.
And I would agree. I mean, we came off a very, very emotional charged series. And you're right. It could have went either way. Nobody would have wrote up the game 7, let's get 9 shots, get out of there and win a game on the road. Nobody. But that's how it played out. It doesn't mean that was by design, but that's the end result. The win is a win. It's not how, it's how many. Then we go into Buffalo. We're the road team yet again. So we go from one road city to another road city, coming off a high. The Sabres were at home. The Sabres were rested. Is it an excuse? No, it's a fact. We were the better team in game 1 in the third period. We outshot them 11-1. And most nights, that gets you a victory. We just didn't make it hard for Lyon to see the puck. There were a lot of shots and a lot of easy, clean looks for him. And it allows him to get into a groove when the pressure's on. And we didn't really give him the penetrating pressure that we needed to. And that's okay. Because, someone's got to win game 1. And it could have been us. It's how do you bounce back?
Yeah, so again, game 1, like I say, game 2 and 3, I think were a more truer representation of what Montreal really is. And again, I don't want to be the Homer fan that, oh, my team's the best team, whatever. I just think Montreal is a better team than what a lot of the, so-called experts are giving them credit for. They're gelling, they're coming together at the right time, and we're riding a hot goalie now, as you say, Dobesh. Rookie goalie. He stole that Tampa series as far as I'm concerned, the way he's doing. And he's keeping the boys in it now that they're, seem to be found a little bit of a scoring touch spread through the whole lineup. He's still making some spectacular saves and hanging in there with a little bit of rough play too.
Yeah, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Without him, we're nowhere. Mm-hmm. Right? Josh Anderson can throw whatever hits. Dano can win however many faceoffs. Suzuki can block however many shots. But when you need a goalie to stand in there, stay consistent, and be the backbone, he has been that and some. And, I think after game 1, Buffalo only had 16 shots, 4 goals. He's probably going to tell you he wishes he had a couple of them back.
Yeah.
But that's okay. because it's not how many times you get knocked off the horse, it's how many times you get back up. And he's been pretty humble in his approach. Last night after game 3, the crowd chanting, and he's like, "You guys don't need to hear me talk.
Yeah.
Like, this is great." Like,
He's looking around everywhere.
Yeah, he's in awe just as much as you and I are watching on TV. And we get the chills watching it. He's in the game playing it, and he's still overcome by how incredible the crowd has been. But he acknowledges he's just a goalie. His job is to go out there and stop pucks, and he's just doing what's asked of him. So, and he wants to get better, and he wants to prove that he's up there with the expectations thrust upon him. And he's definitely doing that. He's proving that the task at hand is not too much for him to overcome, and he wants to succeed, and he's having fun doing it.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing, because intentional, unintentional, whatever, Buffalo seems to be taking liberties with him. I know they're trying to, chirp him, and, Darlene was, skating around in him, trying to get in his grill the other day there, and it doesn't working for a rookie. He seems to have his shit together. He seems to be cool, calm and collected. I mean, after that big goal, you see him do the fist pump skating to the corner, and then he starts chirping back at the Buffalo bench. So, I mean, for such a young kid, and that's the thing, people got to remember, he's, what, 22, I think, something like that?
24.
24 years old, rookie year. I mean, this kid, I tell you, I don't know. He's got ice water running through his veins.
Yeah, it's a little bit of ice water with a little bit of a short circuit going on, I think, because, I mean, most people will tell you goalies aren't right in the melon anyway. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, they're running them. They're cheap shots. They're slashing his glove after the play. Anything they can do to get inside his head, and he laughs and gives it back.
Mm-hmm.
And that tells me, A, he's focused, but B, he's not easily distracted. And as long as he keeps that energy intact, we've got a gem, because this is going to carry him for years and years with his preparation and delivery. So, it's been a pleasant surprise, because we talked at the beginning of the year how many games he's going to play, 25, maybe 26. He might play 26 straight by the time the season's done.
Yeah. We're going to give a little shout out to our buddy Vinny, who's been on before. We want to get him on again. He called it. He loves Dobesh. He thinks Dobesh is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I got to give Vinny the flowers. I got to give him the credit. I mean, he's proven Vinny right. Every minute he plays in the crease, he just proves Vinny right more and more.
Yeah, Vinny bought a jersey. He might have been one of the first 100 to do so. I know he went down to a game. And a shout out to Vinny. So if you're going to watch this, and all indications are you are, believe it or not, hot breaking news: Vinny will be in Buffalo for Game 5. Him
Nice.
And a buddy have bought tickets. He will be in the barn wearing his Dobish jersey. We might say rest in peace if he gets a little bit too cocky and he's sitting in the upper balcony. We might not. We might see a jersey thrown on the ice. He might be inside of it.
Yeah.
But hats off to Vinny. He's been a Dobish guy. Probably a bigger fan than Jakob's parents, but he's stuck by the man, and we'll give him his flowers. They might be yellow dandelions, but we'll give him his flowers.
Yeah. And I tell you, every time, I don't know what it is, I just love to see Madame Bellevaux in the arena. She was there last night. They put her on the screen. He gets the big cheer. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's like the matriarch. Like she brings that building to their feet. It's
that nostalgic cheer and the passion, and it's tying generations and generations of the kings and queens that were there before, and she still brings it. And the fact that she stayed with it and wanted to be part of this, it's absolutely incredible. And this is why it's a special place to play. This is the players know. Yeah. Any former player knows. I mean, Kirk Muller, if you didn't watch the game last night or catch the pregame, he was the former player to carry the torch into the building. He's an NHL coach with another team. Yeah. Coming back to do this. I mean, if that doesn't tell you that this means something to anybody who's been involved with the organization, I don't know how else we can brainwash you. because this is the electricity, this is the passion, this is the history, this is what people want to be involved in. And we are very fortunate that we live in a time where we are getting not only to see it, but to witness it and to enjoy it. And through things like this, we get to talk about it. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It just kind of, oh, I'm getting the chills now just thinking about it.
Yeah, when they light that ice up, it just, and the towels are going, and I think pre-game last night, the noise level touched 108 decibels.
Yeah, I heard
Like that's pre-game.
I heard on the Sick podcast last night, which I made it on the show. Woo woo! Shout out to Tony. They recorded the highest at 113 decibels. They got up to at the Bell Center, which is like that's rock concert noise level.
Yeah, that's insane for
Yeah.
a sporting event. That is right up there with the top of any arena.
Yeah.
And we're only in round two. I mean, if we happen to be fortunate to see two more rounds in that building, there's not enough alcohol that's going to keep.
They're going to have to tighten up the bolts on the roof because they'll lift her right off.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. With the upcoming game tomorrow, actually, I just wanted to touch on one other thing. I guess we can sort of jump back and forth, but last night's game, I'm going to give you a little bit of a shout out too, because I know you've been a big Joe Veleno fan. Right from day one, you've liked the idea of him picking him up. You've always said that he should be in the lineup. They put him in. He's been solid on the draw. Last night, he was 5-0 on the draw, 100%. And he's just playing a game that, he's playing one of them, not shining like a star, but it's one of them games that every player on the team knows what he's doing, and they know what he's doing, and they love him for it.
The thing that I think Joe came to the realization late this season was Marty had, and this is a documented story, Marty had sat him down and said, we don't need you to be the guy who was an early exemption player into junior hockey. We don't need you to be a guy who was a high draft pick. We need you to be Joe Veleno, Montreal Canadiens forward, who wants to be here and prove that he does Joe Veleno stuff well.
Yeah.
And he has acknowledged that he knows he has a role here. And for the first time in his career, he feels valued. If that doesn't tell you how a guy has been at the top of the sport at a young age with the greatest future, to accepting reduced minutes and being scratched at various times of the year, to wanting to be here and wanting to prove his worth and just doing what's asked when asked, as little as he's asked, but to do it passionately, I don't know. Hats off to Joe. He's a veteran. He's been around. And there was one play last night, and, I don't like to see guys get hurt, but late in the game, had he made a contact with Doan would have been on life support because he was going to run him right through the end boards into the Zamboni. He was lining him up, and Doan bailed out of it. Josh Doan ducked, put on the brakes at the last minute. Veleno slammed into the boards, and it could have been thunderous. I mean, had he connected with that, the building, it might have collapsed because it was a thud. But he's done what we need him to do. Unfortunately, for a guy like Joe, he's not an 82 game player, right? He's proven a greater worth for the 16 wins we need after the 82. Josh Anderson, another guy, he's been on fire. And again, people running them both out of the building because they didn't score 50 goals. Well, that's not their job. Their job is to help drag the team in. Now they're leading. And you know what? Minute by minute, we get max effort, and these guys are going through brick walls for whatever Marty asked them to do. So hats off to them because they're the warriors that we need to succeed.
Let's jump into tomorrow night's game. Still in Montreal. Montreal up 2-1, so it's game 4 of the series. What do you expect out of tomorrow night's game?
Unfortunately, I'm going to predict the obvious. They're going to have a veterinarian on site in the building, and they're going to have to euthanize 18 buffaloes because it's not going to go well. Right? We are inside their head mentally. Tomorrow, it's going to be physically. If there's one thing that I think most people will be surprised by, And, I'll take some of Vinny's flowers away from him with this one. He was very critical, as we all were at various times of the year, about criticizing the moves, lack thereof, trades, lack thereof, but preparing for the playoffs. And we had speculated, what do we need? Do we need to get bigger? Do we need to do this? Do we need a stud on the back end? A stay-at-home defenseman who's going to block shots, play physical. We as a team have not shied away from any aspect of this game. The Buffalo Sabres are trying to run us all over the building. We're not getting sucked in. We're not, every team takes dumb penalties. It's playoff hockey. Your emotion is going to get the best of you when your adrenaline is busting out through your eyeballs, and you're going to take dumb penalties. But we have hung tight with them. Where they give, we give back. And when they want to play dirty, we're there to defend. And it doesn't matter whether it's Zach Bolduc grabbing guys. There was, and yes, I'm gonna say, I told you so. But the other guy on the other side of this monitor, we were both big Kirby Dach detractors, but he grabs two guys in headlocks last night, pulls a Jack Eye 2.0. These guys all buy in. And that's why they're a special group. They all are getting involved. Not one guy is shying away from this. Gooley was a monster last night. These guys are doing whatever it has to take. So game 4 is going to be the same. It's going to be a dogfight. Yeah. I expect that if we end up winning this game by 3 or 4 more goals, I expect there's a lot more dirty play coming out of Buffalo, because they are going to want to prove a point going back to their barn. And I just don't see us backing down.
Yeah. And I would agree. I think, first of all, I will eat the crow. I mean, you more than anybody knows how much I trashed Kirby Dach, and I was like, I'm sick of it. The experiment's over. Get rid of him, whatever. But I'm telling you, he's been a big part of this run. I mean, without Kirby Dach, I don't think we make it out of the Tampa series. I don't know. I just
you're not wrong.
He's playing playoff hockey, which is what we need. Like you talk about, Kirby Dach, Veleno, Anderson, playoff players clicking in at the right time, doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I mean, where one guy sort of drops the proverbial hammer, another guy picks it up. We can get into whether Cole Caulfield has been a playoff performer, and there's a lot of pressure on the kid. Do we not think that kid feels pressure, 50 goals, and he's not scoring in the playoffs, and he's going through a dry spell? He knows. They know. We don't need to tell them, hey, you haven't scored. He knows. For a guy that scored 50 times, he knows he hasn't scored. But Doc's got 4 goals.
Yeah.
Bolduc's got 4 goals. Like, guys that you don't expect to lead are leading.
And I think that's why we're doing so well. It's the secondary guys picking it up. And not only did we not expect it, the other teams didn't expect it either.
Right. Yeah, because when we renamed him, Zach Bolduc gets on the board, we're firing. Yeah. Alex Newhook, another guy, 5 goals in the playoffs. Yeah, the goofy Newfie coming through with back-to-back clutch games of 2 goals. And he was off to a torrid start at the beginning of the year. And people overlook when he come back, he hasn't played in 4 months. We expect him to go back to scoring 20 goals. It wasn't going to happen. Imagine had he been healthy all year, we win this division handily because he was on such a good tear. But he's hot, and he's hot at the right time. And what more do you want out of that than that kind of effort? You don't. You're getting what you're getting, and you're getting it for the right reason. And just think that when the Suzukis, the Caulfields, Slavkovskis, Demidovs get firing all up as well, we are going to be a deadly team that no team is going to want to play. Because I believe out of all the remaining teams in the playoffs, we have the hottest goalie right now.
Oh, by far. And you mentioned, the players catching fire. I think Demidov is a goal away from the floodgates opening. I think when he gets his first goal, I think it's just going to be, that weight's off the shoulders. The same with Caulfield. When that Demidov gets that first goal, the weight is going to come off his shoulders. I think he's going to see the game different. He's going to, not have to. I think he's trying too hard. He's overworking it. I don't know what it is. I mean, I never played at that level, but it just makes me wonder what potential and how much this kid's just going to explode when he finally does.
Yeah, he's getting his looks. He's a little bit snake bitten, but I mean, he's juking and moving and his control. I mean, watching him and Hudson, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, Hudson last night, that play to set up the Caulfield goal,
Yeah.
recognized the guy didn't have a stick, took him on, beat him, drew two players to him. He knew where he was going the whole time. That wasn't an accident.
Hmm.
Demidov does the same thing, but he's got two guys barreling down on him into the corner when he's got his face against the boards and he comes out with the puck.
Yeah.
It's absolutely magical to watch these guys. It's poetry on ice. And those kind of guys, once they get hot, look out. And again, we have to remember he's 19. Like,
Yeah.
other than the goals, he's doing all the stuff right, and his ice time's going up, and Marty's rewarding him, and the individual glory is going to come.
Yeah.
We just can't rush it, right? We just have to let it play its way out. But I mean, what a special group of players.
Yeah. And Marty is the right guy to have to coach slash teach him through these moments to make you, it's all about being a professional hockey player. You can have all the skills in the world, but if you're not a pro, you're not going to go anywhere. And I think Marty's the right guy to teach him to be a pro.
Yeah, and Marty comes in with a lot of accolades of being well prepared, being organized. There's been stories that have been talked about in the broadcast that even as a player, with the Tampa Bay Lightning, he's drawn up plays on the dressing room and going over it on the whiteboard with Stamkos.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing that as a player, you got a gift because you recognize things while it's happening. Because sometimes you can't see. He's 3'9" or something. And you're doing that looking through 6 foot,
Yeah.
6'5"
with his skates on.
Yeah, and you still have the due diligence and the hockey IQ to know this and to try and pass it on, and for him to take all these young players and tell them to keep it dialed in and tell them not to let a game get one game doesn't define a series, which doesn't define your whole playoffs. These guys bounce back and they bounce back like rubber balls with more energy, ready to go further the next time. It's nice to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at times big Marty St. Louis critics, but we're starting to see some of the fruits of his labor paying off as they all buy in.
Yeah. And it's amazing how the patience they've had, and I don't mean just Marty St. Louis. You touched on it earlier, Kent Hughes, the patience they've had with not making trades where fans have said, why didn't we go out and get this guy at the trade deadline? We needed a 2C or we needed a lefty man or whatever, the experts thought we needed. And they didn't overspend. They didn't overpay. We all know about this deal that was in the pipes that could be revisited in the summertime. But I tell you, he's looking like a genius now for not pushing the panic button.
Well, sometimes when you know what your inventory is before you have to take stock one more time, let's be honest. We are, and we're not talking about it in a negative way, but let's talk about it in a positive way. We have scratched Oliver Kapanen.
Mm-hmm.
How many games straight? He had 22 goals as a number 2 centerman, and he's not even seeing the ice. He's not even getting dressed.
Yeah.
Why? Because playoff hockey is different. One of the most underrated moves that we made this year, honestly, was getting Phil Deneau back from LA. Because he's not the fastest guy. He doesn't have the hardest shot. He's bringing guys pizza. That's giving them the carbs that they need. Like, the pizza man is in the house and he's doing something a little bit different. And how do you fault that? It's keeping the guys loose. It's that veteran presence. He's killing penalties. He's sacrificing his body. He's winning faceoffs. I mean, I think at one point, and again, we were 60+% on the draws again last night. Mm-hmm. I mean, every game in the series we're stealing pucks after every faceoff. Yeah. And that's a credit to guys like that. So when we can put out Suzuki, and I think he's leading the playoffs in face-off winning percentage. Mm-hmm. And then we have a Deneau. Then we have Jake Evans, who's right up there as well. And then we have, you go down to Veleno 5-0. We have guys that we can truck out 2 at a time for almost every defensive zone face-off when we need it to. That's why these guys are there. Mm-hmm. Oliver Kapanen's going to get his time. Yeah. It just will happen to be next year.
Yeah. And we talk about face-off. I seen the stat yesterday, I think it was. I can't remember the exact number, but I think as a team in the playoffs, I think Montreal's like 63 or 67% on the draw, which is just
Yeah.
insane. And the importance of that, which a lot of people may not understand, is, winning the draw is great. But when you can win that draw in your end in a defensive zone draw, and you win that draw, well, you immediately relieve that end zone pressure. Whereas if the other team had won it, they can set up and start that ozone pressure. Well, if Montreal is winning the draw, well, now they have the chance to get it out and totally deflate the tires of any offensive push from the other team.
Yeah, and that, I mean, the game is easier when you start with the puck,
Mhm.
right? Because let's be honest, when you don't have the puck, you're fighting to get it back. And what happens when you fight to get it back? You end up taking dumb penalties.
Yeah.
A stick goes misaligned into someone's skates and they go down, or you're trying to lift a stick and it pops up and hits a guy in the visor, and then you get a high sticking penalty. These are going to happen, but you start with the puck, there's a better chance you draw more penalties than you take, and that turns a tide in any game.
Yeah.
And we just happen to be on that tide bending scenario because we're winning way more faceoffs
Yeah.
than we're losing.
And you're not chasing the game. And when you chase the game, it's a lot more tiring to chase the game than to be chased, right?
Absolutely.
Um, I think do you got a specific score you want to throw out for tomorrow night, or do you just
I'm
want
gonna
to?
say I'm gonna say it's gonna be in another 5-2 type of game tomorrow. There's our power play is clicking, and it's only gonna get better once. Caulfield missed a couple easy ones yesterday, but
Yeah,
one of these snipes goes in for him. Look out!
yeah,
The building is going to erupt. And Lindy Ruff said it himself. What we can't do is we have to score early to take the crowd out.
mhm,
They did that. The crowd didn't go away. So
mhm,
Montreal faithful, thanks for showing up with your energy, not getting down
yeah,
on the boys. You bring it loud, and it makes a difference because people hate playing in our barn. They all say it. It's a
yeah,
great place to play unless you're the visitor. Still a
yeah.
great place to play, but it's a
When you're wearing
loud
the
place
right
to play.
jersey.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and they all love coming to Montreal. They just don't love losing in Montreal.
yeah. And I just want to bring something up. We talk about Caulfield missing a few chances, and even Demidov. I mean, these guys are missing by, it's not like they're missing by feet. They're missing by like a half an inch. Because you see when they hit the crossbar, hit the post, I mean, if it just be a half inch in tighter, that hits the crossbar and goes in the net. So, they're sniping, they're trying to pick their corners, they're just trying to find, and it's not an accident. These guys train this. They can put that puck through a Tim Hortons coffee cup if they wanted to, right? And it's just, once, like you say, once that first one goes in, it's just going to take a lot of the weight off their shoulders. They're going to feel more relaxed, and then they're not gripping the stick so tight. Like it is coming. Fans need to be patient with with Caulfield, with Demidov, because we don't want to have a Mitch Marner situation here.
Mitch Marner, some guy that gets run out of town and goes and leads the NHL in playoffs for another franchise. Never heard of that guy.
That's the one and only. That's the guy, right? And Torts loves
Google it.
him, which I hate Torts, but Torts loves Marner and gives him all the credit.
Now Google can be right sometimes.
Okay. I think we're in for a more marginalized score as well, or if that's the correct term, 3 goal spread kind of thing, which is good for, my heart. I can't handle all this cardiac stress. I get, you only go get so many beats. I don't want to waste them all.
Yeah, defibrillators were on sale through a large part of Eastern Canada. I think
Yeah.
hopefully they'll all be returned after this series. Again, the cardiac kids have given everybody that's our age, and that's 29 plus a couple years old, a little bit of a hard go, but as long as we stay dialed in, and we have been, I don't see this being a close game tomorrow.
And for those that don't know, Steve's beard wasn't gray before the playoffs started.
Yeah, it was a nice shade of black.
um, I just want to touch real quick before we move on to our bigger topics. I just want to bring out about the camaraderie, or sorry, the sportsmanship in sports in hockey. It is like no other. You can have Tampa and Montreal hate each other on the ice, beat the crap out of each other, and when it's all said and done, shake hands, pat on the back, have their little moments, whatever. Even, opposing coaches talking about players and how well they played. But I think what I want to talk about, and I think a lot of people know, is Mike Matheson protecting Benson
Zach Benson. Yep.
on the ice. If there's
Yep.
anybody that deserved to get the shit knocked out of him, it's Benson. But Matheson knew he was in a vulnerable position and covered him, and he even took a shot in the head himself doing it. I just think that just goes to show hockey players are a different breed. They'll take a
Yeah.
puck to the mouth, 14 stitches, come out and play and give it all, but they're still classy guys.
Yes. For him to be cognizant of the dangers around both him and Benson.
Mhm.
Benson, obviously being flat on the ice with a guy on top of him, was really in the most vulnerable spot.
Mhm.
I mean, again, yes, it's a risk, and yes, this is known to happen, and yes, every guy should be aware. But when you're in an uncompromised position,
Mhm.
you don't have time to defend yourself because you can't see it coming.
Yeah.
So the fear of the unknown, and I'm sure more of these guys shake their head when they get back to the bench and say, "I'm lucky I'm still alive here."
Yeah.
Um, you get 6 guys around you. That's 12 razor blades that are
Yeah.
juggling against your wrist, juggling against your neck when you're laying flat in the ice. And for Matheson to have the wherewithal to say, "Hey, I got you,"
Yeah.
and I'm sure he said it to Benson.
Yeah, you
I'm
could see his
protecting you.
mouth moving. Like, we obviously can't tell what he said, but he had said something. And I think you're right. He said, "Look, I'm going to grab you. You're in a bad spot here. Just hang on."
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Benson doesn't think he's being bear hugged and trying to be put into a sleeper hold.
Yeah.
And he may never come out and say it. He might do it after the series is over and say, that was classy by the player, and he did tell me he was there to protect me. But you're right, they're a different breed. These guys named when LaFlop goes down in LA, nobody's there trying to pick him up,
Yeah.
right? His own team doesn't pick him up half the time.
Yeah.
But hockey players are built different. They understand it. These guys are shooting a puck at 100 and something miles an hour at each other, a frozen disc. It's going to hurt. These guys know the risks, but that's not one of them you assume is going to happen. So hats off to Mr. Matheson for being a professional and not letting an opponent be thrown to the wolves, per se.
Yeah. I think the next point I want to hit is I want to talk about the officiating. I know you talked about it as well, or wanted to talk about it as well. My concern is the inconsistency. I've always been, as a, high level pro beer league referee, I've always been a big proponent of consistency. Setting the tone as an official is probably the most important part of the game, because that is what the players know, uh, what they can get away with, what they can't get away with, and what the rest of the game is going to be like. But you have to do it consistently. You can't call a punch to the head on one guy and then let it go at the other end. And I don't want to say the officials have been wrong on calls, um, per se. I just think they've been wrong on their consistency.
Right. And I think, as fans, we're always going to say we got the short end of the officiating stick, right? We're always going to say, "Did you see?" Or "How did the ref not see? They did this to us." No fan says, "Yeah, but they should have called a penalty on that guy, but we got away with 14 other penalties."
Yeah.
We always highlight the ones that weren't called. And at the end of the day, as a fan, I want my team to win. But as a fan of the game, I want it to be universally the same both ways.
Mhm.
And part of that is for one reason, it's player safety. We want the game to be played the right way. And if the referees call things the right way, when it starts to go in a misleading direction, nobody gets hurt, right? How can you call an interference or a no goal on Dano at one end because he taps or was knocked into or blew on somebody, and we
Mhm.
can't have a goal? And then Malenstein comes down the ice like a torpedo, shot out of a cannon, leaves his feet, spears Dobish,
Mhm.
and is only a 2-minute minor. Like, where's the consistency of what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
It's not there. And I think every player would want the same thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And
They want it to be called. Now, what should have been called? I know you're a referee. My take, because it's a safe way, personally, I like how they now can call a 5-minute major that automatically reviews the penalty. You can't review a 2-minute minor if you call. So why not on something like that could have been catastrophic to the game. Why
And
not
let's
call that
be
a five
honest,
minute?
Steve. Let's be honest. This wasn't a one-off thing. The officials know that the players have been agitating, getting at the goalies. This isn't like this was some surprise out of the way. This has been a hot topic pressure cooker for the series. So they knew that that this was a possibility, that this is a carryover, this is whatever. So, like you say, how do you not call the five right off the bat and then review after?
Yeah, and I mean, if it was a high stick, even if there was no blood and it looked serious, they're going to call 5 minutes and then reduce it to two. Why is this not set up the same?
Yeah.
Because Dobish could have been seriously hurt. He comes out of the game. Do I have faith in Fowler? I do, but that's not what we're trying to. We can't say, well, it's okay because we have coverage.
Mhm.
Like that play was deliberate. That's
Mhm.
intent. Intent means they mean to do it, which means it's a 5 minute major,
Yeah. Yeah,
right? Like,
I don't know what his intent was. I'm not going to pretend to, prejudge that, whatever. I just think, again, did he, okay, I don't think, as bad as the play was, I don't think he left his feet with the intent to, hit him harder or do whatever. I think he left his feet to try to jump over him, to be honest with you. However, you know, did he really try? He sort of half-assed it, but there are other ways he could afford. He had lots of time to go left or right. He didn't need to go barreling into him. So there was definitely some intent to make contact. The degree of intent, I'm not sure on, but this is where you need to make the 5 minute call for two reasons. Like you said, make it reviewable. But again, you want to set a tone. You want to say, hey, we disallowed a goal at this end because, Dano brushed Lions pads with a dust feather duster, right? Which had no bearing on the goal. The puck was going in either way. It was trickling through the legs, and it might have already been across the line before contact was made. But that's neither here nor there. You've set the tone at one end. You need to keep it consistent at the other end. A five should have been assessed just for the
review
severity,
purposes.
the severity of the incident. And guys are going to be less likely to run the goal the next game or the next play or the next period when they know, hey, wait a minute, I could get a five and now my team's really going to be hurting, right? So
Yeah,
that
because
puts an end to it right off the bat.
yeah, 5 minute penalty is unlimited goals. It's not like a 2 minute minor where they score one goal and you're back to full strength. A 5 minute
Yeah,
power play could be three goals,
yeah,
right? And then further discipline from the league because you could be assessed a 2 or 3 or a 5 game suspension. Are
yeah,
they likely to do that for that hit in the playoffs? Probably not. But
yeah,
why put yourself in a position to cripple your team for more than one game?
yeah,
But you only do that when you lay down the letter of the law and the expectation that comes with it.
yeah. And that, ironically, is going to lead us right into another point. You have some news about Arbor Jacki, I believe.
Yes, breaking news. If you haven't checked your digital devices, Arbor Jacki, at the end of the game, if you want to listen to an American broadcaster, sucker punch Sam Carrick. Sam Carrick went in at the end of a game looking to hurt somebody because that's his role and looked to cause shit. And he just happened to want to do so with the wrong guy on the ice. And Jack Ice said, not tonight, Junior, and laid into him. One punch, sayonara, adios means good night. And he was fined $2,500 for that. So if anybody in Habs land wants to start a GoFundMe, we'll take $1 from everybody. We'll pay off his $2,500 because it's probably money well spent.
And then we'll
Just saying.
donate the rest to the Children's Hospital in Montreal and get right in line with PK Subban, who paid off his $10 million there this week.
Yeah, I'd like a white jacket too.
Yeah. We'll call you
Because
Dr.
it,
Steve.
cause it beats some of the clown suits he's been wearing.
Yeah.
And I'm a PK fan, but the wardrobe's a little bit over the top.
Yeah. So on that, well, it ties us back into the topic of the inconsistent officiating. Arbor Jacki, did he sucker punch him? I don't think so. I think there was a scrum there. They were face to face. You know, there was jersey tugs, and from one of the angles I seen, it looked like Carrick was giving Arbor a few jabs, few pokes, whatever. And I think just Arbor beat him to the punch, no pun intended,
Literally.
and said,
Yeah.
if this is how we're going to play this, here, take this five knuckle sandwich and go to sleep and spend the night here. Don't bother going back to the hotel.
Rumor has it that he's still there, and the Zamboni has made 3 passes around him in the corner.
Yeah. The Montreal police set up the blue tape outline around his.
Yeah, because I mean, it caught him. It caught him clean, and it caught him hard. And
Yeah.
this is 3 in a row where Jack Eye has played since Dobson has come back and Struble has not.
Mhm.
And this is why the last minute 30 seconds, Jack Eye was on the ice.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Nobody's afraid of Jaden Struble.
Mhm.
There's not, and I don't think Jaden Struble's cat is afraid of him.
Mhm.
But everybody that wears another jersey knows when the sheriff is on the ice, the kid is strong.
Yeah. Keep your head on a
So
swivel.
yeah. So $2,500 fine. There might have been a slap on the wrist that says you do that again and you're going to get a suspension. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that's something he'd be willing to do to stand up for each and every teammate any day of the week, and he wouldn't have any problem doing it.
Yeah. Which ties back to our topic of the inconsistency. Because earlier in the game, you had Norris and that whole chaos shit show in front of the net, sucker punching Bolduc, pushing him down on the goalie, jumping on him, and how Montreal ends up shorthanded on that. Like how Bolduc even gets a penalty to begin with, I don't know. But to get 4 minutes and we end up shorthanded for two out of it, again, you know what I mean? If that's the message you're sending early on in the game, well, guess
It's only
what?
going to get worse when it
Guess
gets
what?
to the end of the game.
At the end of the game, Arbor says, okay, well, if you're not going to call that, huh. Same thing with the goalie thing. If you're going to call that goal off, you better call that penalty on the Dobesh contact. Like, there's just too much inconsistency. It's one way for one thing and then the opposite direction for the
But
other.
it goes back to another angle here. Why in a 6-2 game with a minute and a half left, and Sam Carrick is a guy known for his rough style of play, why is Lindy Ruff putting him on the ice?
Mhm.
Like, there's accountability and there's accountability, right? Root cause analytics will tell you where you can find the problem. It starts with the coach. It doesn't mean you have to send out your top scoring line. You don't send out Thompson, but I guarantee if they send out Josh Doan and Beck Ballenstein and somebody else, Jack Guy's not on the ice.
Yeah.
Right? So are we surprised that happened? No, but good for the sheriff for getting in there. Good for the sheriff for taking care of business, and good for him for making sure every single guy in that dressing room, I bet you, buys him a beer while they're on the road and says, thanks for having my back, man. You play 8 minutes, but thanks for having my back.
Yeah.
Because those 8 minutes are the most important 8 minutes we got.
Yeah. And the 8 minutes on the or on the ice are reflective of the other 42 minutes, I guess, would be on the bench because people know he's there. And that's a dog that can be released at any time. Even though he's not on the ice, he's still in their head.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but again, goes back to the inconsistency. If we called stuff accurately along the way, that play doesn't happen at the end.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right? If those things, again, at the end of the game, no, towards the end of the game, last 5 minutes, Bolduc's in it again, and the referee, a linesman's got a hold of him. A Buffalo player is behind the linesman grabbing him, and Norris is still trying to feed him, but no extra call.
Yeah.
Right? So those things have got to be called so it doesn't happen. And if it does, they're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Final thoughts. What do you want to throw at us for final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I like the genetic makeup of the group we got. As we get thrown into another dogfight, and I don't condone dogfighting for those trying to make a play on words. We are playing whatever style we need to win. If they want to play physical, we're playing physical. We don't have to have 7 guys 6'5" on the ice. Our guys are doing what they have to do. Kirby Doc with the double headlock, Bolduc involved in 2 scrums. I mean, Jack Guy's out there laying, we have guys that are getting dirty, and we're giving it back to them. We are proving that we can be a depth scoring team. We are proving that our special teams can play a difference in the playoffs because Buffalo's power play looks atrocious, but our penalty killing has been a lot better. Our power play is starting to catch fire, and we have a hot goaltender. So moving forward, there's no reason to think that this series can't be over in 5 or worst case scenario, game 6 in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only a testament of the work that Marty has put in, getting all these guys and the veterans to buy into understanding their role so we can execute and develop and get better. And it has been. So, I expect a win with a gap, and I don't expect the lineup to change any for the next game.
Yeah. I think both of us, I think at the beginning, I know we talked about it offline. I don't know if it's recorded. I think we both said that Montreal could win this in six. I know I did, but I'm pretty sure you did as
Yeah.
well. I think for me, I think a couple things have happened with this playoffs, and in particular, this three games against Buffalo. Um, I see, when Armia was let go, a lot of people said, well, we need him for the playoffs, whatever. I think the right combination guys, as we referred to earlier, stepped up, and Armia's been replaced. I mean, Joel Armia, love the guy. He did what he needed to do, and he's doing it in another city now. But I think the Armia thing can be put to bed because we have, Veleno, we have Bolduc, we have Anderson, we have the guys, Deneau. I mean, I can't say enough. I can't get to know enough pizza. Um, Another thing is happening here, and again, I'm going to go out, and I don't think this is a hot take. I don't think it's by any means, but I'm going to say it. Right now, Lane Hudson, by far, is the best defenseman in the NHL. You look at what he's doing on both sides of the puck. He's scoring. I think he's a point per game in the playoffs right now. But yeah, I see what he's doing defensively. It's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not prototypical of a defenseman the way he does it, but he does it well and he's successful. I wouldn't trade him for nothing. I wouldn't swap him out for car. I wouldn't swap him out for anybody right now. I just think right now Hudson is the number one defenseman in the NHL, and I don't even think it's close. My last thought is sort of a off-season related thing as to what's being developed in the playoffs. I think tradable players are making themselves revealed. And I mean that on a couple sides of the coin. One is, again, no slate against Kapanen or Kapanen, however you want to pronounce it. Rookie guy, 22 goals, I think, this year. He's going to be a great player. He's going to be, I think he's going to be a stud somewhere. Would I like it to be in Montreal? Yes. But I think he's tradable. I think he's an asset now with the way the team has come together. You can trade him to get a strength somewhere else. With the way Dobish is playing, do I want to trade Fowler? No, I don't want to trade Fowler. But at some point, he's going to want to be the number one guy somewhere. So trade him. He is tradable. You can get something for him. I think on the other side of a coin, I think there's players that have made themselves valuable that you can't trade them. So it's on both sides of the coin where I say tradable players or untradeable players are revealing themselves through this playoffs and are playing very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give that credit. I mean, there could be a trade in the offseason where Kapanen is the feature piece going the other way. Will it suck to lose him? It will. Because we have Zarovsky and Hage to come. Hage went back to school, and it's not a conspiracy. Maybe he gets moved. I don't think he does. He went back to school to play with his brother, right? Big
The
difference.
only reason. That's the only reason.
The only reason. It might be a one-off since minor hockey that they could play together because of their age, because they might end up in two different cities. Good for him. But you then, if you're making a deal for a better player, you're offering Kapanen to protect the other two. So, at some point you have to give to get. And, we let go Heineman, last year, and people said, oh, he's off to a great start. Dobson, what's he doing? Look, I do that trade 11 out of 10 times, right? Kapanen could be, like you said, he could be the tradable asset, and I would get rid of him 11 out of 10 times if it net us the same type of return that Dobson did. So you're right. Sometimes it's a show for go, and sometimes it's a show for blow. But these guys are proving their own worth and proving their own worth in a different area, and it's only good for us because the depth pipeline that we have grown to now love in the playoffs.
Yeah. And with the multiple pieces we have, and again, I'm just going to touch on this briefly. Everybody talks about now, Toronto got the first round draft pick, which I'm sure that chalkboard guy, whatever his name is going to find a way to mess that up somehow. Sundin in there. I bet you they don't even pick McKenna. They picked a Swedish guy, but that's another story for another episode. But I'm sick and tired of hearing people say, oh, McDavid's coming to Toronto. McDavid is not coming to Toronto. He wants to win. Toronto is in no by way means set up to win in the next few years. I mean, could they fix it? Yeah, I do. I think they'll fix it. No, McDavid is not coming to Toronto. And then I heard a guy talking about, well, Edmonton's gonna want this. Okay, Toronto does not have the pieces to trade to get McDavid. If they do, there's not going to be anything left for McDavid to play with. However, not that I believe he's coming to Montreal either. I believe he's going to end up somewhere, Colorado, Vegas,
San
somewhere like that,
Jose.
maybe even Dallas. I see him going to Dallas. But Montreal has the pieces, and most important, they got the most important piece. To me, the thing that Edmonton needs most is the goalie. Well, if Fowler is a tradable player now because of the way Dobson is playing, that's going to be pretty enticing to the Edmonton Oilers who are screaming for a goaltender.
There's no reason, and again, this may deviate a little bit off our final thought, but I'm not saying that it's the player, but if you believe recent hype of players that are on other rosters that could end up in Montreal, Evgeny Malkin's name keeps coming up again.
Free agent.
A free agent. Could we get him in for free? Well, if we got him in for free for a couple of years,
Yeah.
it gives us even more stuff to trade because now we have even more assets. Could you envision a trade where you send a Brendan Gallagher just to put him back out west? It's not because I think he has inherent value. Brendan Gallagher, David Reinbacher, Oliver Kapanen, and Owen Beck in a first-round pick to get McDavid in. That's a haul for them on the development side.
It's funny you say that because that's
or Fowler in there as well.
Yeah.
You could do a 5-for-2, and we get a 5th-round draft pick back just to maintain the number. But they would get so much youth, and we get a player. They rebuild and can go, and we get the piece to put us over the top.
Yeah,
that's how some of these hockey trades are formulated. But they only work if you have the assets. We have assets.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the specific players you talked about, because in the discussion board I was on where I said that, and again, I don't believe he's coming to Montreal. But my point was Montreal is probably one of only 2 or 3 teams in the whole of the NHL that have the assets that could make that happen, that will have the cap space as well. So it's almost exactly player for player that you had mentioned, that I had mentioned in this discussion board about making it happen. So there is definitely a fit there. Again, like you say, it's the willingness. Trivia. What's our trivia answer?
Well, we don't have to go that far back, but far back enough, ironically enough, because it was 1986. Some young kid who grew up with the name of St. Patrick ended up with 15 playoff wins as a rookie, leading the Montreal Canadiens to a Stanley Cup victory. So I'd have to Google. I'm pretty sure Brian Hayward got the winning game 1 or one of the games, and Patty went on a tear after that and got 15 more, and Montreal won a Stanley Cup in 1986, which is now 40 years ago.
And then later on, he had to pull the Denny Lemieux. Hey, trade me right fucking now.
Yeah, went up to Ronald Corey and said, trade me right fucking now, and then hung up, and that was the end of it, and that led to the worst trade in Montreal Canadiens history.
Yeah. Anyways, so excellent. Great discussion as always. That's going to end another episode. Thanks for joining. We're going to try to get Vinny on here very shortly. I know he's pretty excited, as we are, about the playoff run, about his main man Dobish doing so well. So Vinny, get ready. We're going to have you back on.
We'll do another one of these just after the playoffs when he's back in town, and we can get his perspective on Habs Nation taking over the Buffalo Arena, because I think we were probably 4,000 seats of fans at the last game. It'll be even worse the next one.
And again, thanks for watching. Please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe button. Let us know what you think. And remember, it's playoff time. It's exciting. Let's go. Go Habs, go. Steve always says,
keep your stick on the ice.